Hi, my name is Barrie and welcome to Live Well with Barrie. Now, if you've been following this series, you know that our guests are people that are doing positive, constructive things in various communities and actually inspire and encourage us to try at least to be better people. This week, we have internationally acclaimed author, inspirational speaker, Ann Dixon.
Hey.
Darling. Thank you for joining me.
It's good.
Another lady, royalty in our community.
I always wanted to touch your flesh.
Is it as good as you thought it would
Yes.
be? Oh, okay, good.
Very good, very good.
So tell me, the beginning of the journey.
Oh, God.
Let's go from, because I know you're Guyanese.
Yes.
So when did you come to England?
I came to England when I was 10 years old.
Oh, a little slip of a thing.
Yeah, I came when I was 10, and I remembered it was May. That's
Right.
what I remember.
My birthday.
You know, and it was cold. And it's really funny because in my book, the book's not finished yet, but it's almost finished. I was remembering when I came here and the excitement from leaving Guyana as a 10-year-old. That's quite young, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's like you're going to a strange place, a place you don't know. Of course, you're going to be excited, even as an adult.
But it's like putting your child on a train to Birmingham or Leeds or something.
Right.
And saying, okay, somebody will meet you at the other end. It's that sort of thing. So
You came unaccompanied.
I came, only the BOAC.
British Overseas Airways Corporation in the Junior Jet Club.
Yes.
I remember.
Okay, we know that you lot are thinking that's old, but it's not. It's antique. It's not
it is
old.
an antique.
And basically, my parents sent me to live with my godmother, who is my mother's sister, my aunt, and I came to live with her. Right. I remember getting off the plane, and my uncle was there waiting for me and had a coat, because it didn't come with a coat. But I had this little suit, and I didn't want to put on the coat.
Yeah, because in those days, traveling was a big thing. You used to dress.
A suit. Remember, it was like mustard and cream, and the little socks, white socks. It's like no tights. Yeah. We weren't forced right. We had to wear tights. And I remember saying, Uncle Ram, is the air conditioning on in here?
Because you're not.
Because inside the airport it's so cold. And then as we traveled on the train, I kept looking out for gold.
All right, the stories you were told about the streets paved with gold.
Streets paved with gold and honey, and we never saw that. We saw, I saw broken fences and
of course.
Despair. So hopefully in my book that will be from Georgetown to Clapham, because we went to Clapham. I lived in Clapham North.
Right, this is the latest book.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Other books that I've written are all compilations where other people have interviewed me, so I'm in their book. And I thought it was time. I really should have about 20 books by now.
Right.
But I don't know. I think when you write so much, the last thing you do is write about yourself. I don't know about other people who write, but for me, because I'm writing and editing at the same time, it's not a great idea. You actually should really sit with somebody, do an interview, and then process that. So I'm finding it a little bit difficult. But the difficult part that I'm finding is reminiscing about the past.
Right.
Because
you're finding that painful, or are you finding it joyful?
No, I'm actually finding it painful more than
Really?
Joyful. But the first part of it, because I grew up with my grandmother, and we never asked questions.
Right.
We never said, why is
am I
everybody
here
else
with you
here?
and not with you?
Yeah. And everybody, you thought you were special, and my grandmother was a seamstress, and she sewed for a lot of top-notch people, and she was very aloof, very elegant woman. The hats matched her. I think we've all acquired it, not just me. We've all acquired that in our family, where we dress up or dress
We got dressed to death.
Dressed to death, yeah. And we basically, she made us stush, as you would call it now. And I never asked questions, but when I started to write, I transcended myself back in time. And I actually realized that at sort of 7 or 8, I was calling my mother Gloria and calling my mom, my grandmother, Mummy, because of course my mother is.
And obviously now you're looking at it in a different perspective through adults' eyes.
And I'm a mother as well.
And you're realizing, well, your mother probably had you young. And, and that's what.
And so the questions came. Obviously, we found that out over the last couple of years, that my mother had me when she was 15 or 16. I think it was 15, and my dad would have been in his 20s. And although that is quite the norm in the Caribbean and in certain parts of Africa, now we're looking at it like, Jesus, he could have been he's like a pedophile, Oh,
yeah. But I mean, and as well in those days, there was all this thing of attaching shame to everything.
Yeah.
So you were actually shunning your family because of what people outside would think.
Yeah.
So, your daughter's pregnant, you send them away, and then they come back with this baby and they're saying, oh, well, it's my sister's child or my brother's child that I've got.
Yeah,
but no, it's actually your grandchild.
Your grandchild. So my grandmother looked after me because her child was now having a child,
Yeah.
And I realized now that I'm writing the book how hard it would have been for my father as well, because he's from the countryside, and I think my grandmother from town, and Miss Aloof, he's not good enough for her daughter, and plus the girls. So my grandmother still kept on mothering, and I grew up. She took me because obviously my father worked on at sea.
Oh right, he was.
He was a seaman, and so when he came back, my mother got pregnant every time he came back. Sorry, I laugh about it. I'm sure somebody won't find it funny, but you can imagine being away at sea for so long, and then basically he's at home.
Making up for all the time he's missed.
The bed became the favourite place. And so then there was another sister and another sister and another sister. There's 7 of us in all. Okay. And basically my grandmother probably realised my mother couldn't cope by the third child and helped. She took me, then she took the second one. So where were you in the lineup of the 7? I'm the first one.
You're the eldest.
And I'm was spoiled. I didn't do cleaning. I never knew what it was to wash a pot. My hand, she used to say, you can't manage, you just sit down there. And I can't remember playing up on it. Like now the kids are a bit apart.
They're a bit precocious. And,
I remember.
Wise beyond their
so
years.
My job was to clean, like polish things, like the plants, getting the milk and rubbing the rubber plants and stuff like that, feeding the dog, but I never did hard work. And so I was spoiled. It's coming to England was
spoiled. You just raised the way they thought was right.
I was raised as she always said, Barry, my grandmother always said, you're special.
Yeah.
And I never understood it. I just thought, well, because I did nice things. I always sat like this, however she placed me, I stayed. She'd go up and down, dress you, put you down and say, you don't move, and I wouldn't move. And I assumed that's what she meant when she said special. But later on I found that she realized that I'd pick up things. I would say, I don't like the lady for no reason. Or I would say something and she would say, well, how did you know that?
You were quite astute then.
Yeah, I had an insight. I had an insight into things. Some people might say slightly psychic in some ways.
Okay.
But some people don't believe in that, so I prefer to say that I was special. Yeah.
A great intuition, following the gut feeling.
Gut feeling, always knew. I always knew. I remember telling my grandfather at some silly age. It had to be before I left home. So it would have been 7 or 8, something like that. And I remember saying to him, I want to go in the place. Sorry, I'm doing that in a Guyanese accent. And he said, you can go in there and talk about this. That was BBC Radio, which all the islands had. Because we were British. Yes, we were British Guyana at that time.
Is correct.
And so I basically said I wanted to go in there. And I remember him saying, well, you can you going to talk about? I said, I don't know. I
I
know
just want to talk. I just know I can talk.
Just talk.
And look, she's here doing it to this day.
And that's it. And I think I followed it on when I was 16 and said the same thing when I went back. And that was it. That was it. So I think talking or conversations or transcending what I feel and think was always
and communicating.
Yeah.
Because to a degree, to do that, being comfortable with conversation, you kind of have to like people to a degree.
Yeah. You can't be afraid of them.
Yeah, you
I'm always comfortable with people. I'm a touchy-feely person, which could be very annoying, I suppose. If
very tactile.
Yeah, if your partner's around, it's you're always hugging up people.
Hugging up people and kissing up people.
What's wrong with you?
But when you're a creative, which you are because you write, that's a natural part of you. That tactile, affectionate.
Yeah. And it was never ever a problem for me to say to somebody when I'm walking down the road or not, to say, you look lovely.
Yeah.
You look lovely. I like the shoes. Where did you buy the shoes? Whatever. I don't have a problem with it. Or that lipstick really suits you. And I'm mad to say, you should wear pink more often. It suits you, And I think that puts other people, it's not even about me. I think it puts other people at ease with themselves when you give a compliment. And people actually don't realize
that's actually
how
not a very English thing, you have to say, because you find that the English would only really communicate with you if there's an ulterior motive, if they think you can do something for them, or they think they can get something from you, or something you have they need. Yeah. But to just acknowledge another presence, and compliment another person, it's not really...
it's not the norm.
And that's kind of our way in the Caribbean, because it's morning, hi, morning, and then complete strangers.
People look at you like, I ain't too sure about him. Let me change seats.
Yeah.
On the train.
But in the Caribbean, that's just the natural way. You see somebody coming towards you in the morning. You're on your way to work, on your journey. Yeah. Hi, it's. Well,
those are the things that I talk about, and have always talked about. Whether I was in media or in magazines, or whether or not I was on radio or whatever, I always say to people, how do you feel when you say something nice to somebody? And you always feel good.
Yeah.
Okay, it takes you a little while when they don't answer back. Yeah, it does take you a little while. It's like, But you know what? Say it and keep stepping. Because you might be the only person that ever says to that lady, good morning. She could be, and I'm saying lady only because I'm thinking of somebody that I did that to. And years later on, she said, on that day that you said, good morning, have a lovely day, it was the same day that she was battered by her partner because she woke up late and couldn't, and she was rushing the child to take it to school. And I saw her on the way back, and she didn't want me to see her face. And I didn't.
Well, that's what they always say. It's don't take it too personally, because you don't know the person's story. You don't know what they've been going through that day or at that time. So don't take it personally.
She sent me a message on Facebook. You might not remember, but this is what I remember you.
Oh, right.
And so there, she found me on there.
Well, that's very touching, very moving that she
found me. Yeah.
And actually conveyed. But thank you for the message.
Thank you for that day. And from that day, I always looked for you but couldn't find you. And I knew I'd always find you. And it just so happens that I saw your face on somebody's page. And although it would be like 30 odd years later, I've never forgotten your face. It's the eyes and the...
Now, you are such a consummate professional in so many different fields. Yeah. I don't even know where to start.
It's because
where would you say was this start? Because, there's makeup, there's PR, there's motivational speaking, there's writing.
Yeah.
Which was the beginning.
And I do parties too.
Party girl. You see the shoes? We have to get these shoes.
Hello, look at these shoes. And my toes are done, but I just want you to see the shoes. All ladies should have nice shoes. Let me tell you how this all started.
Right.
Because I came here and I was by myself, I really didn't have family. My aunt was on her own, I was on my own. I think I adopt people. I like people.
Right.
So I think that's what started. I'm sort of self-evaluating. And I started to have parties, always inviting people. Oh, come over. And before you know it, 5 people come over, and we're cooking, whether I could cook or not. You know, Caribbean people, you bung everything in the pot and make something. And always had people over to the house. And this was even, I started off as a secretary.
Right. So that was from leaving school, was
leaving
it? That was
school,
secretary.
yeah,
Right.
secretary. I was supposed to be a nurse, but I saw a man died on the road and thought, no, that ain't gonna work, that ain't gonna work. And so basically I went in as secretary. My first job was in NatWest Bank in Sloane Square, where the ha-has were,
Right.
you know, very, very posh. And I went in there and they did like me. I didn't have a test or anything because I spoke properly. Right. They told me that years later. But you know, in the Caribbean, that's how
we're taught.
Yeah. So I did that job, and then Angela Davis and the whole black and proud thing started to happen. And of course, we're going to parties and we're dressing and we're doing the afro and you're dancing, you know, with all the black and proud thing. I know anybody that's sort of over 50 would remember that. And
I don't know what she's talking about. I don't know what she's talking about.
So basically, I started to change this beautiful coiffure here that they loved, and all of a sudden, I'm gone to work. Oh, we went to a party the night, as we do, all those clubs that you go to. Oh God, the one in Parade Street.
Oh God, that's
you
yes,
come back to us.
I can't remember the name.
Count Suckle was the guy that was the manager. Anyway, it was the place where everybody, when Muhammad Ali, anybody that came, they had to go there, yeah? And I got in at 5 o'clock in the morning and you have to get up at 7 to go to work, right? And so I forgot to re-straighten the hair. Because you used to get the hot comb and straighten it quickly and go put it back in one and go to work. That day, I went to work with the afro. The afro that was plaited, curly. You used to have to plait it, put Vaseline in it, shiny bump it with water, and it would curl. So you had a curly afro, big Angela Davis look. And the lady said to me, my boss at the time said, Sherry Bowlers, what did you do to your hair? You look as if you've had an electrical shock. Well, they can't say that to you now, but they could then.
But the attitude still exists today.
Yeah,
you know,
it's true. But basically, that's what happened. And then, because I come out now, you know, I don't have to hide anymore. And so I said, oh, this is my new hairstyle. And it's all about, we didn't use the word empowerment then, but it's about standing up, not realizing you're telling her you're
the wrong person,
black and proud. Yeah. And anyway, she sort of put up with it for 2 weeks, and maybe the manager must have said to her, when is she going to put her hair back to normal? And basically I said, no, I'm not. And I heard the words, well, you're going to have to find another job if you don't do that, if you don't put it back. And I remember standing up and saying, I'm not putting it back. And that was all because of, at the time, the fighting of the Americans for being accepted and being... I didn't realize how radical I was at the time. And I was like, why should I? I'm not putting it back.
And even if you were thinking, well, you know what, I'm bored with this style now, I want to put it back. The fact that they had told you what they told you in the way they told you, it's a stand of defiance.
It wouldn't be like how it is now that would have told them about themselves. You just quietly said, wrote your letter of resignation and handed it in and left. And then I went into work in PR. I was temping, as you do, and I found my niche. Worked in PR, and that's for Shandwick, and they were the largest financial PR firm in the world at that time anyway, and I loved it. I think we had the Purcell versus Ariel ad. That was the beginning of the marketing campaigns for that's when advertising became...
competitors.
Yeah, that's when it was starting to...
This is better than that, and you could actually say it.
You could say whether, I think ours gets... And I remember they had a clothesline and all the whites were flowing and the sheets was outside, and we were part of that. And then, anyway, my team won, and then I got promoted to work for the chairman of Partners, and I remember the day that I was promoted, I got that job, all the blonde girls resigned.
Oh, really?
Because I was now working for the man at the top. And so
Really?
indirectly, I was their boss, wasn't I?
I see. So because you were working for the man at the top,
They should have got that job.
she felt that she should
Well,
have
one
got it.
resigned and then the other one resigned. And anyway, it didn't matter. I remember my boss at that time, who was a radical, said, "Why are you worried about them? Are you doing a good job? Am I telling you you're doing a bad job?" Blah, blah,
Exactly, that's what you need to worry about.
And he was
but, I mean,
my first
everybody's allowed
motivator.
to have insecurities, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
you weren't
well.
sure, well, maybe I should be worried, is this going to affect my position here, whatever.
Whatever. The fact is that as black people, we were used to being, let's hope, oh, it's my fault. No, he said, it's not your fault.
It's their problem.
How is it your fault that you're going to do a good job? And you are doing it. Anyway, long and short of it, I stayed with him, and the clients were Ascot and Henley. So I was, and the Mayor of London. So I was now working in.
So how long were
top
you in
level.
that company in PR?
8 years.
Wow, that's
And while I was there, a girl came to me and she says, I was always making them up. I was always good at beauty, always playing and messing with somebody. And I remember my boss resigning. And as he was resigning, he said, what do you want to do? Because he was young then. I remember he bought shares in Durex.
Right.
Now think about this. I mean, had I followed his path, I would have been rich. Durex, because that was around the time of AIDS.
Right.
And obviously the shares rocketed.
Rocketed.
He made enough money and he retired.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
So he retired, and in retiring young, I'm saying young because he was in his 50s, I then had to find a new job. It wasn't like there was do you want to work for this other person? There's no other person. I had to find a new job. And I remembered him asking me the question about 3 times, what do you want to do? I said, I need to work. I have 2 children by that time. I had 2 children. I was married with 2 children. I was only about 25.
Right.
And I said, I want to work. Anyway, the long and short of it, he said, what do you want to do? And I was thinking, is this my sea lion? I answered that question before. And he said, he answered it. And then I said, actually, I want to do beauty. And that's what he was waiting for. Because the question was you. What do you want to do? Not what you want your family or think you need to do. Because remember, we had to have a job just to pay the bills, right?
Well, yeah, and that was kind of the mentality and attitude then.
Yeah.
You just need to learn a trade. You need to, and as I say, if we had all of the support that they have now, when you look at what it is, next top model, next designer this, Britain's Got Talent, dancing, we'd have all been stars.
We would have been stars. We would have been stars.
But back in those days, it was like, you just need to do a job. Come on, you need to do a job.
You just need to find a job.
You're either studying for something or you're doing a
you did the job and then you left and you studied in the evening. So anyway, the long and short of it is that he said that's what you should do. And I remember them giving me some money towards it. They gave me a check and I basically enrolled to London Institute of Beauty Culture. And that was the beginning of moving out of here into beauty.
Work
well, now I take the people money. I have to pass the exam, innit? I have to pass the test, innit? So I remember making
but
sure.
How good of them is that to
have done that?
Encourage you.
Yes.
To really pursue something that was your love rather than I just want to pay the bills. That's why there's so many unhappy people in the workforce, because most people do a job just to pay the bills, rather than pursue something that they want to do with a passion.
That's your thirst,
so that they're not dreading going to work in the morning.
When I learned beauty, because obviously I still had to work, but I worked 3 days a week and went to college 2 days a week, and then in the evening, I loved it. It was like I found my niche, understanding skin. But at first when I was doing it, I was thinking, I didn't come to learn how the blood running under the skin. I want to do makeup.
Yeah, but
you have to do it. And to understand that when you're even doing a massage, if you push against as you well know, you're pushing against pushing the toxins in the wrong direction to the people's lungs and their heart. They could die. A beautician is not somebody who just put a little cream on you. They have to learn how the electrodes work against the cream and anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So I did that for 2 years, I think it was 2 years. And then I passed and I went for a walk. Listen to this, Barry. For a walk to get my lunch by Great Ormond Street. I remember the street was by Great Ormond Street Hospital. And there was like a little shops. There's little shops. And there was pink beauty blush, powder blush, a pink one, a green one, a purple one. And I froze on the street. I was like, what's happening here? And I literally barged into the people's shop and said, what's going on? What's going on? What's this? And there was obviously other makeup products there. And I was like, and the woman said, it's going to be with her long hair. She didn't look at me in my face, but she turned out to be a really nice friend after. But she didn't even look at me. She's like, it's a beauty school. It'll be Complexions London School of Makeup, and we're going to be teaching stage and film and fashion photography. But the lady hadn't even finished talking, and I'm like, can I come on?
Roll?
But anyway, I asked her for a job. So she asked me to be secretary and said, but I need you next week. And I then had to go and hand in my notice, as you do. And that was the best thing ever. I learned fashion photographic makeup. I learned how to put green on people and keep it green, because people actually don't realize when you put green on brown skin, obviously you practice more on white skin first. But when you then go to do it on another colour skin, it changes complexion. Absolutely. Because you're starting with a different base. Yeah. So you start with something white, of course it's going to look bright green. But then you go darker, of course it's a different colour because it's sucking in the colour. And then we had to learn about electricity, how does the lamps work when it's on my face, how it reflects or not reflects. Anyway, without the complication of it all, I studied all of that. I was on the bus with my book, getting home, cooking the dinner for the children.
This was the days when people really started before Google. So you couldn't just Google the fact. You had to read the book and find the bit that was relevant to what you wanted.
Yeah, I loved it, Barry, loved it. It was like I found my thing. And then I can't remember what happened, but anyway, I did that, became a makeup artist, and then I remembered I did a lot of white celebrities, including Margaret Thatcher, but I wasn't the main person for Margaret Thatcher. It was one of the girls who was a higher makeup artist went, and she took me and she said, do you want to do the base? And I'm looking at her like I'm looking at you now. Are you talking to me? Margaret Thatcher, But she wasn't as horrendous as you see. She did have a softer side, as everybody does when they're not working, right?
That's right.
So I did the base, and then the girl went and did all her bits. And that was for a Swedish company, I think it was. And we did that, and then Joan Collins and a few of the others. And then I got a call from somebody, I can't remember who it was, saying, could you come and make up Angie Lamar? Yeah. And I was like,
our Angie Lamar.
Our Angie, hello. but that was the first black person I made up.
Really?
Yeah, because everybody else was, not black.
And when was that?
It would have been about the time before I became editor of Pride. That's what I do now. So it would have been 19-something, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember
the last century.
The last century, 1994, I think it was.
Right.
And I remember there was a billboard. I remembered those were the days when we used to see the billboards at the side of the buses, on the thing, or you see them on the wall. And it was something she was doing. And I think it was Ian Thompson that called me, and he used to run the Civic. Right. And I came in and I made her up. And then after that, she started.
Can you remember what that was for? What job that was for?
I can't remember. I just know I remember seeing it on the billboard. I remember seeing it on the billboard. Right. So it must have been quite big. And it probably was one of a one-man show.
Okay.
Or something. Because I can't remember seeing other people. It was just her that I made up.
Right.
And then, and she probably remembers when she watches this. And then after that, and then I got asked to do a lot of the plays at the Civic, like Funny Black Women and Cinderella, the first black Cinderella that they ever did, with Jeff Schumann and Felicity Ethnic, and basically they had some big stars in there, what I call big in our world. They were all in alignment. I think Angie Lamar was, I'm sure she produced it or directed it. Right. It was her play anyway. And then we moved on. Jefferson and Whitfield, all those comedians were together, and I was in charge of making them up.
So this was your makeup period.
I was now moving into the black world. I was
right.
now working in PR in the day and leaving at 5 o'clock to get down to the Civic to do makeup for black people.
A rounded
And because
career.
they're black people, and I keep saying that because they're black.
Yeah.
Everybody else that I was doing, I was trained to make up white people.
Right.
And I was trained to
So you were almost, well, I mean, you would have had a head start because you're a black woman yourself. So at least you'd had a head start.
Well, you'd think so. The funny thing is that when you're making up people, when you first start, it's white people that you do, and then they call then obviously I'm black, and they would use me in the black people's when they're putting us on stage and they're using us as the model, I would be black, but they never chose anybody darker.
Right.
So
so you were supposed to cover everything.
I'm the
so
spectrum.
Obviously, if you get somebody now darker, much darker than you, which there are 52 shades of black people.
Hello.
So you're like scrambling,
and it's gone up because the mixed race
Indeed.
community, of which I have them in my family, is a whole nation by itself. So we go right across the spectrum. Anyway, the first person I had to make up was a dark-skinned person. I made a poor girl look like a ghost because I couldn't get the colors right.
What do we say? Flour to fry.
Oh my God! You know when you see someone
Flour to
walking
fry.
down the road and you're like, "What happened?" It was like that. So my thing was I used to ask my sons to bring home their friends, not telling them why. But that's a nice girl. Bring her home.
Using them as a guinea pig.
And you know that one of them that I did was Shaznay. And I
really?
never knew because my kids went to school in Croydon and went to the Brit or whatever school they went to. They were bringing home their friends. And of course, that's why we're getting girls home as well, because of that. My mum says, you're very pretty and she wants to make you up. But that was my trial because I had to start working on people.
Yeah.
How are you going to find them? You can't keep making up your sons all the time. They were starting to rebel. So
we went from the bank to PR to makeup.
Yeah.
And now we get to this.
Whoa. So I tell you
Is that about the right timeline?
Yes, right
Okay.
timeline. You're on point now. You're following the story.
Barried magazine. We all know this, right?
Yeah.
I've done a few issues of this myself.
So that was the first one.
This is the first edition. So when was that? Take my glasses off, can't see it.
Actually.
December 1997.
7. Sorry, I put something in there. So I had to put on my glasses. Me and Barry
She's putting her glasses on, I'm taking my glasses off. What a pair.
In 1990, just before I went to Pride, the voice was, you get a snap of it, but the voice was somebody that I used to look at. I remember calling up the editor and saying, I want my money back because they never had anything in there for women. And there's always a man kill a man and cricket. And that was it. I was sick and tired of it. And so...
The way she says it, a man kill a man and cricket.
And I just said, no, I want my money back. And the editor, I think at that time, which would have been whoever she was in 1990, said, I can hear her saying to somebody, we got one of them on the phone, like mad people on the phone. And then she came off, and I'm doing it in my posh voice because I'm calling from the PR place. And I'm going, no, I'm not mad, actually. I actually think that you should give women something. I'm reading the Daily Mail here. You can imagine that voice, right? I'm reading the Daily Mail. I'll do it normal. And basically, I can see them talking about fibroids, talking about breast cancer, all these different things. So why y'all can't do that for us? And she basically said, well, she was feisty. She said, if you could do it, why don't you do it? You can do it better, why don't you? I said, Target. Remember, I'm coming from PR Mind.
Right.
And so basically with the motto of I can and I will, I basically said, yeah, I can do it. She says, well, all right, when you do it, bring it. Probably thinking I'm just complaining.
Right.
And I did. This lady was a teacher at the time, and she's a friend of ours. And I called her, and she came, and I said, just bring something colourful. And she brought in one of those sort of rasta scarf, lots of colours. And I basically just wrapped her with it, made her up in every colour that I felt.
Can we see this, guys? Look at that. Her first job for the boys.
Made her up. And that was my very first job in the journalistic side at The Voice, and that was 1990. And then it went on and on. But I just bought these two, which I keep daily, 1990, 1992.
Now, I don't know if you can see this. There is Sherry with a whole head of hair right there.
I had
That's
hair
her.
then. I had hair. Mm-hmm.
See?
Yeah. So I used to have hair. I did. I had hair.
You had lots at one stage.
Lots of hair. It used to be down my back. And anyway, basically, I was now being seen in black hair, black beauty in hair, The Voice, The Observer. Anywhere that there was a reason for beauty, they were calling me. I then got called on Lorraine Kelly's show, Trevor McDonald's show, did something on Yellow Babes. I was the one that came out and talked about why bleaching is bad for you. I mean, they can Google this. This is not lies. They just put in Sherry, or I don't think it was always Sherry Ann, it was Sherry Dixon, and it'll come up. So I did all that, and then I got a call from Pride. So one of the publisher, or the impending publishers, was moaning to them, why haven't you got the best beauty person that she knew around? And that was it. I came in for an interview, and they said, would you like, yes, we'd like you to be the beauty editor. And on the first day that I started, this is my...
Look at this.
Yeah.
Mr. Lennox Lewis.
Yeah.
Her first day. Talk about throwing her in at the deep end.
So, but as I say, I never ever, I've always been the same person. Anything I do, I always bring in somebody else. So if I can if I invited somewhere, I'll always try to bring a friend or two.
Yeah.
And because I was in the beauty industry, I know lots of hairdressers. And I remembered I called two of my friends and said, I got a job, I need you on, and I'm not good at hair, but I'm good at beauty. Could you come and tie these hair for me? And then Deborah Daly and Paris, I called them because they were the two best hairdressers I knew at the time. And they were like, what you say? Lennox Lewis is the real Lennox Lewis, not fake Lennox Lewis, because you used to have a lot of people that would pretend to be. So I said, no, come.
Impersonators, yeah.
And that's it. I brought them in, and then after that, it was just rolling. And then they gave me 5 pages, then they had the men's page, which
I did, and she's going to find that
I'm
edition.
trying to find it.
And maybe we'll have it on the show at a later date.
Talking about healthy skin, I think it was, for men.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. So we did that, and then I lasted at Pride for 10 years, but 7 as editor, 7 as beauty editor. I tacked on lifestyle so I can travel, and part of that travel was going to interview Nelson Mandela, Maya Angelou, Terry Walker. The list goes on and on. It's phenomenal, the amount of people that I met, because obviously I was older and I was more holistic. I was interested in what makes you feel good. When last did you cry? My interviews was never just about their records or stuff like that, because we know that we can get that from the press release. But it's like, so how do you keep your skin looking so good? We buy them shoes in the middle of the interview. Yeah. And I did that with Luther Vandross. He throws them. He's like, hello. And because everybody's asking the same boring questions. And with Luther Vandross, I was making him up. He was having a row with somebody, and I was making him up. And then I just started to talk about other things, because I knew he was not in a good mood. And he chucked out the other makeup artist. And then I made him up, and he loved it. And I always remember him saying, thank you, doll. Are you going to come to the concert tonight? And I said, I'll try. And I never went because I had 2 children. So you go home and cook and whatever. And then he introduced me to Barrie White and then Faith Evans. And oh my God, it went on and on. Diana Ross.
So the motivational speaking, we get to this.
Why? So people say, well, when did you start motivational speaking? I started it when I was writing. Because I never ever did anything, I got bored with the basic subject that we are supposed to be there to interview. So I'd always, in the middle of it, say, so what do you do? What do you do when you're not singing music? They say, I eat. So with Barrie White, I said, it was my 47th birthday, I remember that. And it was on a Saturday, and I had to interview him on a Saturday night. my party, Jerry Bascom's playing for my party somewhere in the West End. There's like 150 people on the invite list. And so I knew a lot of people were coming. Barry's taking long. He is like, you could imagine him laying down and whatever. I said, Barry, listen, it's my birthday today and I need to be in the West End. We need to hurry up because the people can walk off and it looks bad. He said, you're a Virgo? And I said, yeah, I'm a Virgo. And he's a Virgo too, so he must have perked up because you can hear the tone of voice when somebody sits up, right? And he said, oh man, you should have told me how to come to a party. So of course now I'm using my brain. You can come, here's the address. I said, but now you've got to tell me some things. And I remember asking him about, so we make love to your music. Who do you make love to? And he says, I don't need music to make love. I just need food. Okay, say no more. But anyway, that's what he said. I've got it on the tapes. I still have those little
miniature tapes, yeah.
And then he perked up and he's like, hey, whatever it takes for you to feel happy and that makes you want to make love, then do that. And then he was like, oh man. And then he kept coming back to my party again. But he never did come because probably it's not on the PR script.
Yeah, exactly.
To do that. And then
So there were lots of different things that you drew from.
Yeah,
that gave you
something.
Inspiration to be an inspirational speaker.
What made you cry? What's on your iPod? Because at that time they had those little iPod things, them things that used to
find out about the person. What makes them
what happened? So, when do you have your nails done in the morning or in the night? Weird stuff like that. Because I like having my feet done in the night. Makes me sleep. So I'm thinking the same thing. Ask them that question. Because it is all holistic, isn't it? You're thinking paint your nails at night, but it's not. They got massage your foot, all those things. Boy, you sleep good. So that made me think about it. What is your favorite fragrance? So what are you wearing? You smell good today. It would never be, well, what's your favorite fragrance? You're smelling good, So what are you wearing? Because I would have found that out when I hug you.
Yeah, it's the way you...
When I hug you, you smell good. I'm going to tell you, you smell good. What are you wearing? And that person will then tell me. So then I get in touch with the PR company and say, Lou Francis says he loves whatever. And that was it. So I got into the person. I remember a particular interview that I had with Cedella Marley, Bob Marley's mother.
Okay.
And I remember saying to her, you have the most beautiful eyes. And everybody looks at Bob Marley and they talk about his father, but he has your eyes. And as I was speaking to her, she was looking at me and I could see her eyes watering. She says, you're the first person that ever noticed that. Because she's darker and she doesn't look like him, they bypass her and they just look at his father.
Right.
And so I got some bits.
Okay.
And I think that's why I became a popular journalist. I know. That's why I became a...
Because you really delve into the person and find out about them. But again, it goes back to what we were saying earlier about being interested in people.
Yes.
You love people, you're interested in people, and that shows.
Yes, and so and it when you're into somebody. You can meet somebody, and many of the celebrities, I remember when I was making up Terry McMillan, and she was obnoxious. She knows this because we've talked about it. Terry and I talked about it. But she just went like this and like that. And every time she did it, I'd wait for her to turn back around. Because I think when you own it and you don't get offended, it'd be like, I knew your neck would get tired sooner or later.
Sooner or later, you have to stop that nonsense and then just relate to me as a human being and let me get on with my job.
You don't have to sell yourself. This is the one thing I'd like to say to a lot of younger people. You don't have to sell yourself. You are who you are. And you go in there and you demand. You set up, if you're I'm talking about makeup people. You once your brushes are clean and whatever, you can get in there. If the people in the toilet know your stuff, because you can work. You know your stuff. You don't have to be, forgot my D55 and I haven't got that lipstick. I never grew up with no lipstick with the whole brand. We made it. You had 6. And you knew you darkened it or you lightened it. You knew that you used your eyeshadow powder as highlighter. We didn't need all this stuff.
Yeah, but you had the foundation knowledge. It's a difference.
Yeah,
There's
big
the
difference.
You see.
So I can do that in my sleep. I can make myself up in my sleep. But to me, my journey now, I presume that's where you're going to go.
Well, you tell me where you want to go, because I'm doing the interviewing. You're telling me where I'm going.
I was stepping into your role for a minute. Sorry, it's just an old habit. It's just being a journalist, that's what you do. I want to go, I don't think, I hit 64. Let's talk about age.
I don't believe it. Does anybody believe her?
I hit 64.
Look into these cameras. Look at her closely. Does anybody believe her? Nah.
Yeah, I did hit 64, and I celebrated my 60th with vigor. And that's because I wanted people to understand that it's just a number. Yes, you have to own it, you have to behave it. But when people are not looking, you can behave how you want.
Like,
yeah. But 60, when you hit your 60s, there's less time than there was before that. So what do you want to do? And I remember I became a lecturer at 60. You can do anything you want. I've carried on doing whatever I wanted to do. And using the thing of lecturing, I realized that I had that ability to make people, to convince people that they can be awesome. And I use this word awesome a lot because there's a lot of us with a lot of awesomeness, but we don't project it.
Absolutely.
We sit there and we moan about
really
cars.
and truly, society in general tries to make you feel guilty for your greatness.
Yes.
And I coined a phrase from Angela Marr, actually. She always says, you don't have to ask to be great. No. You were born great. You don't need permission. That's her exact words. You don't need permission to be great. But in society in general, you're really made to dumb yourself down.
Of course you do.
You know, you're made to feel, well, no, you should.
I don't do that.
Arrogance or conceit.
Yes.
If you carry yourself with a certain
when
sense
I mentor
of
some people, I'm having to say,
self.
and they're telling me stuff about themselves. And how come I don't know that? Or why is it that we have to wait till the person dead? Yeah. I'm sorry, I went Guyanese there. But, I wrote this on Facebook the other day. Why is it that we have to wait until somebody's died for somebody to read an eulogy and then you're sitting there saying, my God, I didn't know about that.
About them and this,
I ain't waiting for them to tell you. In fact, my children... I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Because I don't think my children know some things, but the rest of it is because they've grown up with it. So it's all matter of fact. I'm telling you from now that I'm brilliant at that. I'm a brilliant person. And I will tell you all the good things about myself first. Yeah. And then I'll tell you the one or two things that I'm not good at. Like, I don't like making no cake. It's always going funny. Yeah. And don't ask me to make no cake. In fact, don't ask me to cook. I can cook to survive. But the ingredients and
so you mean you can't make pepper pot?
I can make it, but I'm not clapping no royalty. And what does that make me a woman? Because it make me less of a woman. There are women. No, but there are women who, not just women, they're men. If you can't cook, then you're not a woman.
Not at all.
No, I hire them. And because I'm busy motivating somebody, I'm busy writing something that will then mean that 5,000 people somewhere might read
make some change in people's lives for the better. So you're at a place now because you're going to Barbados, aren't you?
Yes.
Imagine this lifestyle. She's going to Barbados on Thursday for 2 months.
Yes.
2 months. Renting a villa on the beach to do her creative writing.
Yes. Because it's time. It's time. Because I talk a lot and I've been a public speaker. I did the UN last year. Before that was the House of Lords, House of Commons, Cabinet Office. I've done that journey.
Right.
I want now...
So this writing that you're going to be doing in Barbados is the Guyana to Clapham.
Yeah.
Which is really your life story.
Well, just what I shared with you here.
To where you are
so
now.
You've got a preview of it. So this is what I want to do. I want to tell people about my life and inspire them to do the same thing. My end of this series is to say, don't say can't. At least say I'll try.
At least say you'll try.
Yeah.
But as you know, it's like a lot of people are afraid to try because they're afraid of failure.
Because their parents told them they can't. And I'm telling you can. If I say you can, because I did it and I prove it, I can prove that at 64 that I can still go by myself. Not that I can't go with my man, but I've chosen to take that sabbatical and to sit and write and put back into me. I'm depleted now because I'm doing so much.
I'm doing so much for so many.
For so many.
That's
it's
really
time
doing
for me.
So much for so many on such a powerful level, it has to drain you.
Yes, and that's the thing. When you are sharing your journey with people and you're lecturing, speaking, writing, all these different things, because I've done Wales, Scotland, Ireland. No, I haven't done Ireland yet. Wales and Scotland. You're traveling and you're speaking to people about stuff that makes them feel good.
Yeah.
And I know because I get the messages.
But it's still taking something from you because it's giving.
So
you now make jewelry as well, I see.
Well, this is my hobby again. Okay. I always start off doing things as a hobby, and then they end up being a business, you know. But I started to, I like unusual beads. I just don't want to do, everybody does their own thing.
Right.
I went to a jewelry shop in the West End and I saw these unusual beads. And I was like, what would I do with them? And then the lady says, well, you could just practice making your own stuff. And recently I've been making, look at this.
Can we see these? Can we get a close-up of these? Yeah. Made herself.
So
this is just on one string.
This is just on one string. And I just went round and round and then I tucked it in the back. And I can take it and put it around my hand as well.
All right, so it's not sealed as such. It's a loose piece of string that you can just wrap it in one.
And if you want to make a smaller version, make it an ankle bracelet or for your hands, whatever.
So, I mean, you are such a busy lady. I want to hold her hand. You can feel these soft little hands. You're such a busy lady. What do you do to look after Sherry Ann Dixon?
Oh, that question.
What is your thing that you do to, as you say, give back to yourself and put yourself in a good place to continue doing what you're doing?
I sit in silence. This sounds really weird. I mean, because it's normal for me to have a pedicure or a manicure. Remember, that's...
Yeah.
To other people, that's a treat, but that's normal for me.
Exactly.
But I'm being honest, I like comfort of my bed. My bed...
I'm not alone. I'm not alone.
I love my bed.
I love my bed.
I love my bed. I love my bed. I hug my bed and I go, I love you. I love you. I love you.
Not alone. Let me tell you, I am emotionally involved with my bed.
Yes.
Thank goodness.
My bed holds me. My bed balances me. My bed has heard cries. My bed has heard laughter. My bed has heard things that I can't repeat on here. And while I'm in that bed, I then on my iPad I would listen to. I love soothing soul music that makes you feel good, that makes you happy. Yeah. I like that, and then I love to read. But now because I stopped reading because of computerization and then being an editor, you stop wanting to read. Right. Now I've gone back and I'm liking old periodicals. I'm loving black and white film. It's so weird stuff that I'm into.
It's not weird.
But I love it.
Normal.
You know, all that sort of Jane Eyre sort of stuff or like on TV at the moment. Dramas. Yeah, Victoria's on. I love stuff like that. And so I'm into maybe things holistic. You know, right. I love walking now because I have a bad knee and they say it's not going to get better unless you keep walking, exercising because you tend to when you keep it stiff. But one of the things I've learned is to treasure my mind first. And then I find as long as my mind is good, my body starts to respond. I know how to eat well, although I do eat jerk chicken and, well, I cut out beef so much, red meat. But I'm being honest, people just need to get their mind together and love being by yourself. I don't think people understand what it is to be by themselves.
And actually enjoy it. And not feel like I should be here or I should be there or I should have all these people around me. No. Sometimes you need to just settle.
Be at peace with yourself.
Yeah, settle.
Yeah. You know? And so that would be my honest answer because anything else would be matter of fact. I think learning about you and becoming holistic, understanding you, who are you? Because if you don't know you, how can you sell yourself to somebody else? You're going out with a guy invites you out and he says to you, I'm talking to you ladies, he says to you, so tell me a little about yourself. Me, I'm shy. No, you're not shy. I am Ann Dixon. I am a woman who loves beauty. I am somebody who enjoys sweet soul music. I am the person who loves makeup, but I am the person who likes to give back to humans.
Yeah, and I mean, why is it so difficult to just share who you are? Why is it so difficult to relay the message to somebody else about who you are, what you're interested in, what you like, what you don't like?
I like reading books. I like reading magazines. I like going to the library. Those are the things. And if you can have a list of 10 things, write it down. You don't have to write it for people. Write it for yourself. Yeah. Don't tell me, I like ironing. Well, maybe, no, I shouldn't say that, because maybe that's your thing. I like ironing. But at least that person knows you. Yeah. But when you're starting with a blank page, you're recreating yourself for somebody. Each person that comes along, you recreate yourself for that person. No, that person needs to understand, this is me. I like my bed. Yeah. I've told you. So when you call me,
I'm in my bed, it means I'm in my bed.
It doesn't mean that I'm being lazy. It means I'm in my bed. Yeah, and if I am being lazy, then so what? Because I'm a hard worker the other way around.
For sure.
So understand you.
Madam, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule.
I had to do it for you. You know, I was saying, I can't do this, whoever I'm speaking to, I can't do this. I'm so busy, I haven't packed yet, you know, that sort of stuff that women do. But I had to do this for this man. This man and the man behind the brand.
Oh, thank you so much, darling.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Barry.
Thank you for joining us on another edition of Live Well with Barry, and look forward to the next episode. See you soon.